Yamuna Tira Vanasari Jayo Adam Madhav Chundavi Hari Jayatadam Madhav Chundavi Hari Jayatadam Madhav Girivaradhasi Gayatri Janava Prabha Girivaradhasi Jashoda Jindana Bhajana Sandana Jashoda Jindana Bhajana Sandana Yamuna Tira Anant Hari Yamuna Tira Anant Hari Vayu Adam Madhav Ajundabi Bhavati Gayatad Madhava Ajundabi Bhavati Elpijana Bhalava Divarasati Pijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Shashoda Lena Bhajana Sandana Shashoda Lena Bhajana Sandana Yamuna Tira Vanaj Vasi Yamuna Tira Vanaj Vasi Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayom Vishnu Patra Hamsa Paritakacharya Shadasati Srimad. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Padbraham Sabhavitakacharya Shodasata Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Santaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gopimanandi Hari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, titled Prahlad Pacifies Lord Nrsimhadev with Prayers. Text number 53. Mam aprinatai ayushman darshanam dulabam hime drishtvam na punarjantur atmanam taptun arhati. Mam aprinata ayusham darshanam dulabam hime drishtvam na punarjantur Atmanam taptumarhati. Mama prinata ayushman darshanam durlabam ime. Trishtvamam na punarjantur. Atmanam taptumarhati. Mam, me. Aprinata, not pleasing. Ayushman, O long-lived Prahlad. Darshanam, seeing. Durlabam, very rare. He, indeed. Me, of me. Rishtva, after seeing. Mam, me. Na, not. Puna, again. Jantu, the living entity. Atmanam, for himself. Taptum, to lament. Arhati, deserves. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear Prahlad, may you live a long time. One cannot appreciate or understand me without pleasing me, but one who has seen or pleased me has nothing more for which to lament for his own satisfaction. Purport. One cannot be happy under any circumstances unless one pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But one who has learned how to please the Supreme Lord need no longer lament for his material condition. Om Nagina Charamandasya, Kinanjana Shlakaya, Chakshumatamyana, Tasmai Shri Guve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Learner Tringadev is saying here that uh, Darshanam Dulabam Hime, that indeed it is very difficult to see me. People all over the world are asking, where is God? Where is God? Can you see God? Can you hear him? Can you touch him or feel him? This is sometimes known as the problem of divine hiddenness. That the way that is usually phrased, something that atheists sometimes say, which is, presumably God wants me to know him, wants me to worship him, love him, etc. But it does not seem that God is making himself apparent to me. Uh, the assertion is that if God made himself apparent, then this atheistic interlocutor would end up believing in God. But having seen a world that, in his view, is indistinguishable from one that arose from natural processes, of course, one could get into discussion about what a natural process even means. That's another discussion. Uh, that uh, this atheist says, okay, if there was a God, he uh, the world would be like this. The world is not like this, therefore there is no God. Just a simple modus tollens. Uh, except uh, the interlocutor in this case does not take into account the illusory energy. The problem of divine hiddenness considers the mind and senses of the living entity as working in a proper fashion. This is not just for atheists, but anybody who takes on the Enlightenment worldview considers that, this when I perceive this world of matter, when I reason about it from a platform of materialism or physicalism, then my senses are working correctly. Now, if this atheist hears of reports of people who have met God, or of even not to the level of actually meeting God himself, but even, just seeing things that are unexplainable on physicalism, various ghosts or spirits or miracles or things like that. They say, oh, that person's senses and mind weren't working properly. That they what they saw, what the uh, one who has experienced God saw or heard or felt is illusory, but they do not consider that they themselves might be an illusion. But the Lord is saying here uh, explicitly that if one does not please him, they cannot appreciate or understand him. And to think about this, we have to understand actually the purpose of the illusory energy. Yes, Krishna, God, does ultimately want us all to return to participating in his pastimes, to return to the spiritual world. Uh, but the question is, what do we want? Do we want to participate in his pastimes and have enjoyment by participating in his pastimes? Or do we want to enjoy separately, right? If uh, let's say that me and a friend of mine had a uh, some sort of falling out, right? And we decided to stop speaking to each other. But this friend of mine keeps reaching out, saying, "Oh, I want to mend fences, bury the hatchets, etc." But I just cross my arms and turn away and say, "No, I don't want to. No, I don't want to. No, I don't want to." Is my friend to be blamed for the continued fracturing of the relationship, or am I to be blamed? I think it is obvious that it's the latter rather than the former, because I am the one that is uh, insisting on keeping this divide. And it's the same way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is always wanting to post back towards Krishna consciousness, but we are insistent on staying in Maya consciousness. And these two mm, mindsets, these two ways of approaching the world, are mutually incompatible. One can't, strictly speaking, be both Maya conscious and Krishna conscious. Now, if one is fully conscious of Krishna, as Prabhupada says, cent% Krishna consciousness, that does not leave room for any sort of Maya consciousness, for any sort of illusion. But if one is still under the illusion of Maya, thinking for the benefit of himself, either in a narrow or expanded way, or mm, thinking that there is enjoyment separate from Krishna, then one has to stay in the material world because this is the place for people who are Maya conscious. And those who are overcome by Maya cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is what Maya means, that one is in illusion about the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unlimitedly attractive. That is what we mean when we say Bhagavan. Bhagavan means one who is full in the six opulences. There are six ways to attract other living entities. One can be very wealthy, and we see case after case that uh, those who are rich are very attractive to other people, either friends or hanger-ons or romantic partners. All are very easy to get when one is wealthy. One can be very strong, be very um, physically powerful. One can be very famous, that uh, they are known everywhere according to their various deeds and activities. One can be very knowledgeable in that uh, we see one who knows many things uh, will be able to attract people. Of course, if one is very beautiful, that is attractive in and of itself. Everyone is drawn towards beautiful things, either art, there's so much money spent on artistic museums and endeavors, so that people can just go look at the paintings or sculptures or whatnot. Of course, people are also attracted by beautiful people. And then, of course, renunciation as well, that one is not attached to the adoration or the opulences that one has. Krishna has all these things unlimitedly. We might see examples of people who have some measure of one or a few of these opulences. And we think, oh, let me get to know this person. Let me meet this person. It's a celebrity. It is a scholar. It is a very successful businessman. you know. But because the Supreme Lord is all of these things, he is unlimitedly attractive to anybody who understands him. That is why to be against God or to not be attracted to God, one has to misunderstand him, which is the position of those of us in the material world, that we misunderstand Krishna and think that there is some enjoyment elsewhere, uh, outside participation in Krishna's pastimes. But this is not actually the case. As Prabhupada says in the purport, one cannot be happy under any circumstances unless one pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can understand that there are some material circumstances under which one may not be very happy. If one is living under war or oppression or has a bad home life or is destitute or any one of a number of um, situations that one might find himself in, we can understand that, oh, this person has reason to be unhappy. But we might still think that, if only I could become rich, if only I could become famous, if only I could learn all these things, if only I could get a very attractive wife or husband, then I will become happy. So we think that happiness is found within these things, but actually it is not. Happiness is impossible to find anywhere in the material world. It cannot be done. Any contact with the material energy is miserable. This also applies to things that are ostensibly happiness producing. That is why Lord Chaitanya has compared this material world to a pit for passing stool. One can see, out here in the country, there are many septic tanks. And one can open up a septic tank and see inside. It is not a very nice condition. One would want to avoid it as much as possible. But that is exactly the material world. The only difference between the various circumstances that we find ourselves in is the difference between wet stool and dry stool. One might say, oh, one is better than the other, but, one doesn't want to deal with either one. The Lord Chaitanya is telling us this because we do not like to accept it. We do not want to accept that actually in this material world there is no such thing as happiness. But we can see practically that that is the case. There are so many uh, examples of people who have so much facility for material enjoyment, going insane or destroying themselves in one way or another. There are so many celebrities that have problems with alcohol or other substances, uh, where, you know, there's the stereotype, I guess. I don't know how much it happens anymore of, uh, a celebrity, a movie star or something, just getting wasted and destroying their hotel room. Why does this occur? Uh, it is um, because they are unhappy. Nobody that is happy with their life needs to become intoxicated. Uh, it's just a simple fact. Another example, is coming to mind. Well, actually, and before I get to that, there are also many examples of celebrities um, committing suicide, right? That, they are even beloved celebrities who have the adoration of their fans, not being caught in any scandals or anything like that. Making movies, having so much money, all of these things that we think will make us happy. And then they decide to kill themselves. Another example comes to mind, somebody who's not a celebrity himself per se, but I remember hearing a case, this would have happened a number of years ago, where there was, uh, some Indian actress, who was a Bollywood actress, I guess, who, was the big A-list star of the Bollywood movie scene, you know, and for a time when she was a movie star, she was still single, and everybody uh, thought like, oh, what would it be like if I got, uh, if I was able to enjoy or have a relationship with this person. And eventually, uh, she did marry, and I'm sure people were envious of the husband that she eventually chose, saying like, "Oh, he must be so happy to have such a beautiful wife." But within a year, he committed suicide because he was unhappy. And even in cases uh, that aren't as extreme as, drug addiction or suicide, we see that the upper crust, the people who have it all, are not happy. Uh, this insane drive to increase profits more and more and more, to simply consume more and more resources to get more and more money, is a sign of unhappiness. That if they were actually satisfied, if the money was actually making them happy, they would not need more and more and more. And even things that aren't directly related to money, we see that they need that people who engage in these types of things that need bigger and bigger hits. Right? Oh, I enjoyed with this type of person, and I enjoyed with this type of person, and I enjoyed with this type of person. Uh, but I'm not actually enjoying. So, let me make friends with Jeffrey Epstein and see if I can enjoy in another way. Of course, none of it is actually enjoyable, uh, because, if you aren't enjoying in one situation, in that sort of activity, you won't enjoy in another one, because all of the enjoyment is actually the same across the board. I talked about that a little bit last week. But the case is still there that one cannot be happy under any circumstances in the material world or in material consciousness. It is simply impossible that um, one unconnected with Krishna becomes happy. And we should understand this for our own life as well. Are we trying to be happy uh, separated from Krishna? Are we trying to do something else to make us happy? I've done my service for today, or this week, or this month. Um, and now, it's time to do what makes me happy. It is time for me to engage, in this other activity, to do something, non-Krishna conscious. I've given Krishna his due. Now it's, time for me to do what I want to do. And whether we say it explicitly or not, we are thinking, oh, this is what actually will make me happy. I've put in my dues. I've, done my services because, if I don't, then everybody in the community will think, oh, what's wrong with this person? Uh, they aren't doing any service. So, I'll come and do some service. But, after I'm done with that service, I will go home, or go to my room and do what I want to do. You know, uh, now that I am alone, now that I have my own personal time, I will do what makes me happy. Of course, the things that we engage in, if they are separated from Krishna, will never make us happy. The various activities that we think we are gaining relief from, if we perform them in addition to Krishna consciousness, are actually causes of lamentation. Because the only way to be happy is Krishna consciousness. And if one is not happy and performing Krishna consciousness, you're doing it wrong. Sometimes devotees can feel uh, beleaguered or saying, oh, I'm not happy because of, this person, this other devotee, my spiritual master should do this, my temple president should do that, uh, this and that. But, I've made the point before and I'm making it again. If you are unhappy in Krishna consciousness, it's your own fault. It is because you're not practicing Krishna consciousness correctly. Because even if there are problems, it's the material world. There are always problems. Uh, but that does not mean that we have to become unhappy in Krishna consciousness. We are able to be happy and happily perform Krishna consciousness in spite of the problems. Um, but if one is not doing that, then Generally speaking, one is not chanting correctly. Uh, Whether one is performing some types of offenses while chanting, or holding on to some anartha that one is refusing to let go of, uh, or some other reason. Uh, one can study the science of japa if one wishes to, but generally it is the mm, end diagnosis, the end cause of unhappiness in Krishna consciousness is offensive chanting. Uh, because chanting, in and of itself, is the most relishable activity possible. The chanting of the Maha Mantra is uh, associating with Krishna himself. And Krishna is the form of pure bliss, the full manifestation of Sat Chit Ananda. Actually, one can even say, when we say, oh, he's the full manifestation of Sat Chit Ananda, but that isn't actually exactly right. Sat Chit and Ananda are manifestations of him, because Krishna is the ultimate ground of everything, of all reality. Uh, so, by coming in contact with him, with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is automatically overwhelmed with the bliss. We see these so many examples throughout Shastra. And what comes to mind is the fisherman who came into contact with the body of Lord Chaitanya as he was, as the Lord was in ecstasy, floating in the Ganga. And simply by the touch of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this fisherman went into ecstasy. Uh, he didn't even know what was happening, but the various ecstatic symptoms manifested within his body. And associating, touching Lord Chaitanya, touching Krishna, is non-different than chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So we also have this uh, chance, this process by which we can ecstatically come into contact with Krishna. And the question is, are we going to take it up? Or do we still think that there are circumstances in the material world that will make us happier than chanting Hare Krishna? That we think, will we still think, oh, let me finish my rounds for the day so that I can get on with the real task of living, so that I can get on with the things that I actually want to do? When will be the day when we can say that our chanting of japa is actually the real task of living, and that everything else uh, is by and large distractions? So I will end here. We have about 19 minutes left for questions or comments or complaints. If anybody would like to add anything.
I have a thought or question, but
Yes.
for everybody else.
No, nobody else is speaking back. So, Don Prabhu.
Um, if you could just reiterate my question.
Mhm.
And I keep seeing, studying and hearing, Sadhana Kirtan, there's a recurring pattern in my mind. It's really interesting. The stream like material nature, we're completely governed by, right?
Mhm.
So, um, we we have a choice um, when is our distraction? And
mm,
when we cheat, the fact of my reading past the goodness and the quality and all in different combinations, maybe you want sub combinations of the three, right?
mhm,
I'll talk about that. So distraction, I think the question would be, the comment is your thoughts on, you know, where, what do we get? Where distraction and Krishna consciousness distraction, which is or motiveness, compassion, willingness.
mm,
Doing all our lives and we're distracting ourselves, whether we distract ourselves with Krishna conscious activities, which eventually has to benefit, or not to, or the activities of decisions or distraction can take us away.
mm.
You know?
Yeah, so Sri Domino Prabhu was saying, we are under the modes of material nature, and that basically we have, uh, the choice of different activities. The way that he put it is distracting ourselves in different ways. We can actually we can distract ourselves in goodness, passion, ignorance, some combination or combinations of combinations or combinations of combinations of combinations or combinations of combinations of combinations or combinations. He mentioned 81 combinations. Actually, depending on how deep you go, it's an infinite number of combinations. Uh, or, we can distract ourselves, so to speak, in Krishna consciousness. Of course, Krishna consciousness is not a distraction, it's the actual activity. Everything else we do is a distraction. So thank you for your comment, Prabhu.
Hmm.
Sir Paul Krishnai.
I just want to emphasize that distraction means something that could be taking our attention from the real object of our engagement or education.
Mhm.
So if we are focused on Krishna consciousness, this means that we are not distracted.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, we always have opposite of focus.
Hmm.
So distraction refers to something that taking our attention from the real object of our
Yeah, yeah. So Sir Paul Prabhu was just reiterating, like Krishna consciousness is not a distraction; it is the sole focus of our life.
Early morning was listening was decision that um but to summarize it, we got a ticket to enjoy the supreme the highest bliss.
Mhm.
It's up to us to take advantage actually experience that bliss. And when you're chanting and chanting, so the chanting is the key.
Mhm.
But we have not experienced this yet. I think the chanting is not as blissful as we can hear from the ecstasies of few devotees. Some of they actually chanting, they don't
Mhm.
just chanting. But I am not on the level to be experiencing this. Actually, chanting is quite often the struggle.
Mhm.
It's a ticket to experience that supreme bliss.
Mhm.
Um, so my question is like how what would you say like how we can stay motivated to go through that phase that is just like with junkies, one needs to eat the sugar cane which tastes awful if you
Mhm.
reject it. But one needs to go through that phase to experience a healthy state. So because obviously we get distracted because something apparently gives us no pleasure or is not familiar to us,
Mhm.
where these other spiritual things they are challenging, like chanting, sadhana, waking up in the morning, which is the core. If we don't have that, then what hope is there for us?
Mhm. Yeah, so Krishnamai Mataji was asking that we hear about the bliss of chanting, the ecstasies, but we aren't necessarily experiencing that now. So what to do when we aren't experiencing the taste of chanting. Uh, how long have you been practicing Krishna consciousness? Since 87. Uh, so that's what, almost 40 years, 39 years, something like that. You haven't, you've obviously been tasting something, right? You don't continue with something for, uh, you know, almost 40 years without some taste, right? I was listening to a snippet of a lecture by who was it? Jayapataka Maharaj. And he actually made this point that I, even talking to somebody who was chanting for like 3 years, right? Saying, people say, "Oh, I've been chanting for 3 years and don't have any taste." It's like you wouldn't have been chanting, you wouldn't have been keeping it up for 3 years or 10 years or whatever without any taste. We just think we don't have taste for it because we're in Maya. And practically speaking, I would say of course, we should always be vigilant against offenses in chanting the holy names, because those can cover over the taste of chanting Hare Krishna. And then, uh, probably even more difficult for us to accept the reality of this is that many times we just choose to be in Maya, that we might have some anartha that we are just choosing to hold on to, right? Our philosophy is that we believe in free will, right? Of course, in the material world, we have influences from like the modes of nature, other living entities, like all these sorts of things. But at the core of it, we believe in free will, meaning that there's actually a causeless decision in whether we want to serve Krishna or not, right? We made the causeless decision that we wanted to do something other than serve Krishna, which is why we came to the material world. Uh, but that decision being causeless also gives us the opportunity to, at any time, make the other decision, to make the decision to completely serve Krishna, to say, no matter what happens, I'm going to serve Krishna. No matter what happens, I am, uh, going to sit and chant my rounds. Uh, and then Krishna will reciprocate, right? One can, uh, if one has the determination and the mercy of the devotees, become Krishna conscious in one moment. Look at Kadvanga Maharaj, right? He asked the demigods, when am I going to die? When am I going to leave my body? Uh, and they said, you just have a moment more to live. They went and meditated, went back to Godhead, right? It's possible even in one moment to become Krishna conscious. But we have things that are holding us back. I know I have things that are holding me back from becoming Krishna conscious in one moment. Uh, and, if I am facing it honestly, it's because I'm making the decision to hold on to those things rather than let go of the material attachments that they represent. Because ultimately, we can let go of them and fully engage in Krishna consciousness. It's just a question on if we choose to do so or not. Yeah, Prabhu.
And this is very much, point you made, also, uh, this is,
Yeah.
did you get it before, or did you?
Yeah. It was quoted before. I think somebody, in speaking on another class, quoted a something like a lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave, where he used the phrase causeless unwillingness, the causeless unwillingness of the conditioned living entity to serve Krishna. Um, it sounds like something that Bhaktisiddhanta would have said. I don't know if he actually like specifically said it, but it seems like a Bhaktisiddhantaism. Uh, but if there's a causeless unwillingness, there's no reason to be unwilling, and there's no reason to be willing. It's just a decision that we have to make.
It's very wonderful point you made, or Claude, because it's reflecting their point, but
Mhm.
for you, that regarding how long we practice these hypotheses, actually, it's wrong. We made covers, there was no reason for us to decide, I don't want to serve Krishna anymore, we are Krishna world.
Yeah.
So as we make this confident decision in spiritual world, we are still doing every day this confident decision,
Mhm.
should I serve Krishna or not? And also I would add another point that talking about devotional service, because we are merged into physical and
Mhm.
mentality of body concept of life instead of also physical. So usually, when we talk about emotional service, it creates image in our mind on physical class.
Mhm.
If I will uh, when I roll my sleep
Mhm.
and engage my skills and not in relax in some activities that are meant for emotional service. If I'm doing something or doing emotional service,
Right.
because I'm not doing anything physical.
Yeah.
Key to
Mhm.
we will roll our tree in our mentality, our conveying our intellectual capacities, our desire,
Mhm.
especially how to become motivated to stay in this mood, doing this right things, despite of not experiencing yet this unexpected bliss.
Mhm.
So if we making this conscious decision to stay with those who are enthusiastic strugglers,
Right.
so then we become also kind of struggle.
Mhm.
And then this chanting or reading or participating in some spiritual activities become devotional service because
Yeah.
we try to do egoistically for ourselves. We're doing this for satisfaction of Krishna and our Guru Maharaj, who we promise that we want to become Krishna conscious.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you for your comments, Prabhu. Uh, yeah, there, is this tendency to think like, oh, if I'm doing something, then that's devotional service. Or even, I'll go chant, very nicely in the kirtan, when there's crowds of people around me, to see how nice I'm chanting. But, are you bringing that same energy? Are you bringing that same focus? Or even more focus, when you're sitting down to chant Hare Krishna, on japa beats, right? Uh, yeah, the main activity of our life is chanting. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that, of course, we should engage both in chanting and in practical devotional service. Uh, but the main thing is actually chanting. It's the chanting that saves us. The practical devotional service is what helps us to chant better, right? And one could also say the chanting helps us do our service better. Uh, but the ultimate purifier of our consciousness is the holy name of the Lord, especially for this age. We can't go, sit in the forest or, do yoga for 10,000 years. In Kali Yuga, even like the small physical yoga that we do, just for our health, right? We can barely keep it up for 30 days, uninterruptedly, right? If somebody's trying to, get on an exercise regimen or something, uh, you know, it's so common that people do it for like 2 days, 3 days, and then fall off and then try again. And, what to speak of going to the forest for 10,000 years, like they did in Satya Yuga, right? All we have to do in this age is chant the holy names, and then we can go back to Godhead, right? It's the opportunity of a million lifetimes. Uh, but, we have to uh, take advantage of it, right? Because if we do hold on to these material desires, there's every chance that we'll be born, in the heavenly planets or something like that, right? Because if one approaches it that way, chanting can just become, one means of amassing punya karma, right, of amassing pious activities, and then you enjoy for 10,000 years, or thousands of 10,000 years in the heavenly planets. But when one comes back to the earth, who knows if the Sankirtan movement will still be manifest, right? If you come in Satya Yuga, you have to do the Satya Yuga stuff, right? Which is a lot more difficult than chanting Hare Krishna. All right, we're pretty much done. So unless there's any last minute objections, we will end here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Shri Radhe. Jai Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Shri Radhe. Jai Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Shri Radhe. Jayo Radha Damodara Raja Damodara Shri Radhe. Jayo Radha Damodara Raja Damodara Shri Radhe. Jayo Lalita Vishaka Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe. Jayo Lalita Vishaka Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe. Jayo Lalita Vishaka Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe. Jayo Gita, 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 Jayo Gita, Gaura Tunga, Gita, Tunga Tunga, Jayo Gita, Gaura Tunga, Gita, Tunga Tunga, Gita. Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Shri Guru Charana Bhajana Kevala Bhakti Dharma Shri Guru Charana Bhajana Kevala Bhakti Dharma Bando mui sabadhana mate bando mui sabadhana mate bando mui sabadhana mate Pratabe Mahayana Vatoriya आया आया प्रसाद पाए पावतो Hare Krishna Prati Hoya Hoya Prati Hoya Hoya Krishna Prati Hoya Hoya Prati Hoya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chita Koriya Aya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chita Koriya Aya Amen. Tori Om Shri Guru Sada Sayuta Jati Shri Guru Sada Rajira Ama Gati Yatra Kade Pure Sarva Yatra Sade Pure Sarva Yatra Sade Pure Sarva Sudana Dinoji, Chandra Janna Prabhu say, Sudana Dinoji, Vidya Hriday Prakashito, Dityagan, Ema Bhakti Avidya Vinasaya, Sva Bhakti Avidya Vinasaya, Vedaya Hara Chadito, Shri Guru Aramajan Arabam Guru Aramajan Lo Sabdo Kera Jivama Rajivama Prabhu Rehomur Parashaya Prabhu Rehomur Bhuvana Tribhuvana ha 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 Prabhu Durga Dehomoye Padachaya Tribhuvana Tribhuvana Prabhupada Paditapala Paditapala Prabhupada 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 Jayo Prabhupada 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 Jayo Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Namo Vishnupada Krishna Prasthaya Gita Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namah Vishnu Padmani Krishna Prasthaya Bhutala Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Bhakti Gauravani Prakaharine Nirvisheshavani Bhatta Yadisa Jine Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Prakaharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Bhatta Yadisa Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari, Gaura Bhakta Vrindas Nitya Sri Hare Radha Sundara Dora Aga Jindra Hare Sita Ram Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Radha